Okay, good evening, everybody. The date is February 26, 2026, and the time is 5:31. I hereby call to order the workshop of the City of Groveland of the City of Florida. City Council of the City of Groveland the City of Groveland, Florida. And Jenny, could you go ahead and take the roll?
Yes. Mayor Keith Kehoe.
Here.
Vice Mayor Barbara Gaines.
Here.
Councilmember Amy Jo Carroll.
Here.
Councilmember Michael J. Cox. Here. Councilmember Stephen Shulkowski.
Here.
Acting Interim City Manager Mike Walker.
Here.
City Attorney Anita Gerasi Carver.
Here.
Sergeant at Arms Chief Sean Ramsey. Here. City Clerk Jenny Wright here.
Thank you. We have a quorum, and we will move forward with the first item on the agenda, selection process for the city manager.
Good afternoon, Mayor Kehoe, Vice Mayor Gaines, and Council Member. Presentation, please. All right, so what I have for you is a brief presentation and overview of the executive search process. So when I think of this process, searching for a city manager is not a small feat. And so I think the purpose of this executive search and really tonight's workshop is not about selecting a firm. In my mind as a professional, it's about understanding the differences in approach, risk, cost, and process so that council can determine an appropriate direction. And I say that because I think it's really important because this is probably one of the most important hires City Council will make. And so I envision that there'll be transparency in this process, it'll be structured, legally sound, and overall aligned with the strategic direction and plan of the City of Groveland. And so I say this position, you as governance focus by doing all these things, not just vendor focus. I know we're going to look at a couple of proposals in a little bit that we've received, but I just want to also briefly kind of give you a little overview of the city manager's role in summary. So when you look at a city manager, the city manager is the chief executive of the city, works under the direction of council, one that's really a true CEO is responsible for implementing policies and set the overall goals and strategic direction for the city. Of course, with that comes many different types of responsibility, budget and planning, organization leadership, among some of the other responsibility. So when we took a look at the job description, we kind of carved out a couple of different items that we think are really important for someone that's desirable to fill this position vacated by Mr. Hine. So someone that has some sort of extensive municipal or executive management experience, of course, preference for municipal government, city government, county government, local government, and perhaps preference for Florida government. Of course, it's a national search, so we could have candidates from different parts of the country to consider as well. So strong financial, operational, and leadership background, someone understands how city government finance works, budgeting, et cetera, that process, and stewardship, taxpayer funded organization. Community engagement, another important aspect of this job, being able to connect with the public, internal, external stakeholders within the city, whether it's your employees, businesses, residents within the city. And then also someone who advanced strategic planning and organization and development and goals long-term. A forward thinker that can look at a city such as Groveland that's growing rapidly and be able to prioritize city's goals and strategic direction. So here I've outlined for you a couple of steps, and it starts off with developing and finalizing position profile. In front of you, you have a copy of a job description, which is currently used. We could definitely take a look at that and have some discussions about whether there are other priorities that you feel that are important and could be inclusive of that job description. Engaging search firms to begin that outreach, I think that's really an important step for us to do, and we've already undertaken some of that. Advertising, recruiting and screening, conduct multi-round interview and assessment. In the last workshop, I've given you a little roadmap on how that process works to kind of to guide you what is typical for most municipal government when they undergo a search for that city manager or chief executive. And then negotiation, offering, and final appointment by the council. Agency proposals. So at the last meeting, we had some discussions, and we were tasked with doing some research and to come up with a couple of different agencies that do these types of searches for municipal government. We've contacted a total of 5 firms. They are national firms. They have headquarters different parts of the country, and they work with municipal government, filling a multitude of positions, whether it's your city manager, finance director, planning, public works, etc. So among the 5 that we have reached out to, Mercer Group, Bob Murray, EverStrive, Municipal Solution, and Colin Benzinger. That one in particular was the one that brought the last city manager, Mr. Hine, to the city. Of the 5 contacts that we made, Mercer Group and Bob Murray, they did not submit a proposal to us. So, as you know, we have sent out to the council members the 3 proposals that we have received. And what I did for you and in front of you, I created an executive summary in a short form. The proposals were about 30 to 40 page each. Some of them were much longer, and I read, like your typical contract. So what I did for you is I created an executive summary of all of the 3 proposals that highlight the most important things that were in those different proposal or contracts sent by the recruiting firms. But I felt it was to go a step further to make it even much more simpler. I added in my presentation and highlighted for you a comparison of all 3 of the agencies. So you'll see in the presentation, EverStrive, Colin Benzinger, and Municipal Solutions, the number of years they have been in this particular business. Florida, I particularly look to see if they have Florida experience. We see EverStrive had limited direct Florida history. CB&A had a little more extensive Florida specialization, and Municipal Solution also had multiple Florida placement throughout Florida. National reach, all of EverStrive, yes. CB&A, 37 states, and Municipal Solution, also multi-state. And then to go a little further, I looked at their recruitment style. EverStrive, they're more of a stakeholder-driven, active sourcing type of organization. CB&A, they're more network-heavy, focus more on consultants. And then Municipal Solutions, they're a 3-part dynamic recruiting where they have different arms of the business that work hand in hand to help produce these candidates. Council involvement, you'll see that EverStrive, very high collaboration with the council throughout the process, because this is your hire, and then CBNA, very moderate consulting, and then municipal solution, high involvement. Background checks done on finalists only, for the most part, and if we get down the road and pick someone. As far as fee for the service, they're pretty competitive. If you look at them, EverStrive is about $28,550, CBNA $32,500, and Municipal Solution $24,900. There are some additional ancillary costs associated with them, but I think the bottom line is the last item on there, the warranty is a really important one for us. You'll see EverStrive, they're giving a 6-month repeat. So if we feel like things didn't work out with the candidate, then 6 months, they'll redo the search for us. They'll waiver the fee. CBNA, 1 year repeat for them. They'll only charge us any type of expense, whether it is for travel, advertising, et cetera. And then Municipal Solution, 1 year repeat. And, in the second year, if we ever get to a point where there's a second year, they'll charge us expenses only. So I think, it's good to have those guarantees, and it's really important. So I know at the last council meeting, there were also some, hang on there, can we hit the slideshow? All right, good. There were also some discussions about salaries, compensation. So what I did for you to give you some more information as you deliberate and you read some of this information and you start to analyze things, kind of give you a good idea of some cities. We talked about growth, long-term strategic growth, population growth. So I gave you some cities that are 40,000 plus population currently, and then some that are very comparable to us, around the 24,000 range. You'll see that currently we are 1, 2, 3, 4 on that list, 222, 720. I think that set us up long-term for whether it's 10 years down the road, really for that growth that comes in, whether it's 40 to 50, what the comp plan says. But overall, though, you look at city size, Claremont's about 44,000. They're about 192 for their city manager. And then, we're 24 with 222. Oviedo's 42. They're with 225. So that's kind of where that lies. But then I also went and did highest to lowest, and you'll see where we rank. Leesburg in the Lake County area, Leesburg is on the top. Then you have Claremont on the bottom there, and Groveland somewhere in the middle. So that is, that's what I have for you to kick things off. So
I just have one question. I think we talked about it at the last meeting. Is this total compensation, or is this just salary?
that is a base salary. That is base salary.
I think that we have to compare total compensation, because that's what people really go for. If we're given, and we have to understand if we have to have housing allowances, if we have to have these other things to be competitive, or if they're absorbed by these other people in their base salary, just so we can be competitive.
On that, I think it would be helpful if you just took these ones in particular and then reached out and say, which of these are offering a housing allowance? How much is it? Are they offering a car? I assume they're all offering a phone, but what are the other perks that come with it in that? And some of it may be, Leesburg may be paying $251, but they have no additional benefits on top of it besides health insurance. So that would be helpful to us.
Sometimes those are matched health insurance and matched retirement rather than total. So it would be good to have that overall compensation so we know what we're dealing with. Barbara, do you have any questions?
Absolutely.
Nice charts, Dio. Before I get started with this, I would just like to say thank you to everybody that helped me last week when I had that choking episode and bearing with me. So I just want to say in public, thank you all very much.
Especially Amy Jo.
Oh, yes, and especially Amy Jo, who performed the Heimlich on me. Yes, Amy Jo, thank you so much.
I mean, like, don't do it all the time, but
She's like, I haven't set the bill yet, but yes.
I believe at the last meeting, Michelle, can you come forward? If memory serves me correct, I believe that you said that you were going to do a search for the state of Florida. Is that right? When you did that search, how many did you come up with?
For search firms, correct?
Yeah, I'm talking about executive search.
When I did search firms, these were the ones that came up as the biggest search firms for municipalities in the state of Florida. And even the one, the EverStrive, they have limited placement, but they've done placements in Florida, and that's why they came up on our Florida list. And they are the women-owned as well.
So in the state of Florida, there were only like 5?
There was not that many, no ma'am, that did government agencies. And it's I asked a couple of the recruiting firms, I said, tell me why. And they're like, it is very specialty when you're looking for a recruiting firm. Like you have different recruiting firms for medical, you have different ones for executives, and everybody has a niche in there. And so there is only certain firms that will take on municipalities. Because I called regular firms as well, and they're like, we will not touch it. So I didn't even put them on there.
So when the firms came up for Florida, was it ever a consideration to go nationwide with municipalities? And how many did you come up with then?
The ones that were up there as well. They came up on the same. When I Googled Florida, there was only actually Collin and Municipal were the 2 highest ones with the other ones. And then when I did just city manager searches and I keyed in and I put in about 10 different keywords to see what would come up, there was 2 other companies and they didn't call back for anything because I was trying to figure out exactly what their search firms were.
So let me get this straight. So I think I heard you say a total of 7.
I have reached out to try to get any type of response. There was more. I can pull up my computer.
No, I don't mean reached out to. I mean, how many came up, like, across the United States?
Oh, there was a lot of search firms, but how many do municipality as an area of expertise is something totally different.
So there were only 7 that did municipality across the United States?
No, there was more, but I tried to reach out. I did not get return phone calls from a lot of them, or that they did not give me all the information I needed on the website. And I put in, can you please contact me? Here's my information. I called the phone numbers on there. I have people that haven't returned calls. What I have found about this, because it's been an interesting project for me to do, is a lot of these firms are small, and there's only a few people that handle reaching out, getting the bids, and so forth. And if they're at max capacity, they have to go and ask their people that they work with. And a lot of these firms are mom and pop firms that have 3 to 4 people, and they work like EverStrive works with a larger HR company. And so they will reach out and say, we're at this time. I had several of them tell me, I've got 2 other contracts I'm working on. I don't have the availability right now. At least he called me back.
So when you did you submit an RFP to these people?
Ma'am, I reached out and told them that we were in the process for a city manager. We would like to know if they would like to if they would prepare a proposal for us.
Okay, so did I just ask about the scope of work? I can't remember. So the scope of work, in order for TJ to respond, when you sent something to them, was it a full description?
It was a full description of, we are in the process of looking for a new city manager. Is this something that your firm does for municipalities? If so, what is your turnaround time? One of the groups told me that they need at least 2 weeks to get a proposal back to us. So they wouldn't be here available to have a proposal tonight.
Okay, so,
I can go back out and do more. I am happy to. I was just trying, I just haven't gotten phone calls back or emails back from several of them. And I had to follow up with 3 of them to just tell me yes or no. And the last one came in at the very last minute.
okay, so when you send it, I'm really trying to get an enhanced understanding. So when you send it out, you just ask, I mean, not just, but you ask if they were interested in it, but
In providing a
they didn't
proposal.
have there wasn't a statement or a scope of work of what it would cover.
No, they had said, these are the positions that we go and we do hire for. If you are interested in knowing more about our company, please submit a request right here. I filled out my name, my phone number, my email, what is the position I'm looking for, and just a very simple generic, and they said, we'll get in touch with you. Some of them didn't even have that. Some of them had, here's the phone number, please reach out to us.
Okay, is that the normal process? Dio, is that the normal process to send it out just like a letter of interest? Or when you send it out, do you send out the scope of work?
Vice Mayor, different municipalities do it differently. The advantage of having a scope of work is that you have a very defined footprint of what you're asking them to look for. So in the past, I've developed for this level position scope of work, and I do have a scope of work that we could definitely use with this particular position. It talks about what's the purpose of the position, some core areas of responsibility, whether it's governance and council relations, organization and leadership administration. It talks about financial management and budget, utilities. It talks about legislation, public engagement. I don't know if that's what you're looking for, strategic planning.
I am. I'm looking for something specific because if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. And so what I'm really looking for is, okay, so you send it to TJ. TJ may or may not be interested, but it's kind of ambiguous, and shame on me for assuming that the scope of work went out with it. So is there anything I can do to help move this along? Because just sending a letter of interest, I don't think.
We have 3 proposals there from 3 different firms that came back with full proposals of what they'll do and what the scope of work that they will cover for us in this. When we go out, because I asked Dio, he has a lot going on, and I said, I can help in this area because I've done these before. And every different search firms that I've used in the past, you have to see if they are even interested in taking on new clients at the time. And that's what it was originally.
Well, they don't tell us what they can do. We tell them what we need to see if they can meet our requirements. We're the customer, okay, and they're the vendor. So they don't, the vendor doesn't tell the customer what we need. We need a scope of work. So I'm gonna let it go, but I think that this needs more work.
Vice Mayor, if I may add, I'd be happy if Michelle and I work together. I have a document, we can look at it together, and when we're comfortable with the document, we'd be happy to share it with council.
Okay, thank you, Michelle.
Are we good to talk about the proposals, or what step are we on?
Yeah, any questions for what is on here? Yeah?
No,
Question,
mainly for what we went over, the salary was something. I like the detail and the specialized Florida experience of the Colin Benzinger and Associates. I was trying to read up on the EverStrive because it's new, but it looks like it's from another company. It didn't have a ton of Florida experience, so for me it was kind of between the Colin and the Solutions one. I do like that, just the scope with Colin, the detail, and just the amount of Florida connections they have, because a lot of this does look like it's relationship-based. Like they have hundreds of people that they know of, and, you know, they'll reach out to their network and say, hey, this would be a great, you know, Groveland may be a good fit for you to apply for. So I was leaning towards the Colin. It was the most, but then when I was seeing like EverStrive was a few $1,000s less, but then you still have to pay the stuff that the first proposal already had included in their initial fee. So it looks like even though the numbers are a little bit different when you add in the different costs, it comes out to be the same. Besides, Solutions would be a few $1,000s less, even if we run, you know, 5 background checks. It's still going to be the same. The EverStrive, I think, is going to end up being the most, just with adding ads, background checks, travel. So I was leaning more towards C, B, and A.
I'm going to reinforce what the mayor said. The $222,000, that's base salary. When you throw in what we were giving the former city manager, it was $288,000. So we need to determine whether we're going to offer those things or split them out and say, you know, this is the normal package and this is something extra. Like, you know, the housing, I don't think we want to pay someone's housing for 8 years again. You know, that was $2,400 a month. I don't think we want to do that again. But based on your executive summary, I think CB&A looks like the best resource that we have, so.
I definitely agree that we need to see what the total package is from other cities. So, I mean, I know I don't want to spend too much time on that because everybody else said it, but just, we need to be competitive. We want to get somebody good in here. We don't want to get somebody who's going to be here a year and run. So that, and then on these, I agree with a lot of what Stephen's saying. I kind of want to make this a la carte, is that, like, I like this part of your proposal and this part of your proposal. I do like the warranty on municipal solutions best. It does seem like EverStrive's going to cost more, like the most, when it's all said and done by the time you add in ads and background checks. So I kind of come down to the same two that Stephen did. That's it.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you all for getting this together so quickly, and I appreciate it very much, and I understand the trials and tribulations of finding somebody that fits with us as far as a firm is concerned. I, too, would like to have just a few more to look at. And I wonder, too, the best hires I've ever gotten were also, they came in from connections and contacts within associations or within different areas of people that we network with and go out. And so I would have that in the plan in some way. I know we'd have to funnel it back through, but they're often the people that are really good. You have to go poach them rather than go find them. I mean, have somebody find somebody that needs a job. So that two-pronged approach would be very good. And I hate to say it because this shows how much of a dinosaur I am, but if you have a great circle on LinkedIn, you can drive a ton of people to you that you can go through and also help these guys out, you know, and our city's got a pretty good name out there, and the pictures are really good. I didn't even recognize some of those buildings in the.
The old one, the old proposal.
Yeah, with the pool and everything. I don't know where that one went, but it was, it's really good. And when we update that, I think it's going to be exciting for people, and having that strategic plan, which a lot of, when I talk to a lot of people in other cities, they don't have it, and it's quite exciting for them to take a look at and see. So from that standpoint, I would really next like to look at the package so we know what we're offering, and the job description so we know what that profile is going to be when it goes out. Maybe we can get a few more people in, or a few more companies in, and I would branch out. I know Mascot just did a search, and there's some other ones, Claremont, and our neighbors could help us out, and even people like Sean, right?
Ascot used Colin Basinger. They used that one.
You used them before, right? Is that the one that they,
Yeah.
yeah. I'd like to see somebody
We'd find out
different.
from our neighbors, and our county commissioners, the ones that do stuff for us.
One of the things that I've looked at, some municipalities that have done recent search, they usually publish the candidates and so on. So I've started to research who applied to the job, and that, it's a good way of also to find, good qualified candidates, because you have these agencies that have done the work, and the municipalities have published that information, so you can, really tap into some of that and try to reach out.
Yeah, I understand that, but, you're dealing with a different, I'm a chef, and, I know that the menu doesn't necessarily mean what the food tastes like, right? So I'd really like to branch out and find out who out there is really driving really good quality, and really who can get our strategic plan in our city in front of people that might not even be looking right now, that would really be their next step up. Oh, sorry, Michelle.
I was just going to say what Amy Jo said, that CB&A did Mascot, and they've done, CB&A Municipal Solutions used to be business partners many years ago. And that's why they have, a lot of what they do is very similar, and most of the cities in Florida are used by one of those two. They're the main ones in the state of Florida.
Well, I definitely think CB&A is a front runner right now. I mean, going through it, but just like to have three to take a look at, a few more. Can I say something? Yes, ma'am.
As I sit here, and maybe just based on my procurement background, I don't know how, like you can say, I want CBA or I want ABC or DEF, not having all the ingredients in the pie. Like tonight, if we took a vote, I wouldn't be able to vote because they're giving us what they will do. We didn't give them what we want. And again, we are the customer. You always tell the vendor what you want. So I am going to say, I'm not ready to vote on ABC or DEF. And if it's agreeable with Michelle, I would like to see the scope of work included in this. Did the procurement people help you with this, Michelle?
Yeah, man, they did not. We just put it out to see who would respond on this one.
Okay, well, I'm not going to beat a dead horse, but I just think it needs a scope of work in it.
I will definitely get the scope of work included. I think the difference is when you just give them the information, I have like a little line. That's all I can say is are you interested? And then when they reach out, when we talk to them, because we're not going out for a big RFP. If we want to go out for an RFP, we can put an RFP together if here's everything, and we go through the whole process. And this is my assumption, that we wanted to work on this faster than going out through a whole RFP process, and to find a search agency to do this for us, because they come in and go, they talk to the council and ask, what is your needs, what's your priorities, and then they build the profile around what you all say. And I can give a scope of work now, and then as we talk through the consultant, it might change.
For the public, RFP is request for proposal, and that's like the whole enchilada, that, you know, what they're going to do, the deliverables and metrics and the process. That's what an RFP is. I was never under the assumption that there wouldn't be an RFP issued. I assumed that there always was going to be an RFP. So my bad if I'm wrong about that. Because when you do that, you clarify the roles, responsibilities, timeline, and budget.
We might not have been clear on that. I know if my memory serves me, we asked Michelle to go out and find us several firms, and that seemed not to be a successful, I mean, because it is. I mean, we're in a bidding process. Everybody's looking and everybody's using everybody. But if we want to go back through the RFP process, then we can have a consensus on that for sure and see if that's the route we want to go. We did, if my memory serves me correctly, say we were not going to rush this. That's why we're looking for an acting manager and things, so we don't have to rush it. But let's, if you'd like to.
I'd like to get a consensus. I would like to get a consensus that we do an RFP, request for a proposal. That way, perhaps it can be, excuse me, Michelle. That way, perhaps it can be disseminated to more people. And I'm just crazy enough to believe that somebody will respond with the RFP. I'm really surprised how the business came back. Well, the ball is in their court. They kind of wrote their ticket when they told you what they can do, and we didn't tell them what we wanted. And I would like to see what we want and then let them match up to that. It just seems like good business sense to me.
Barbara or Michelle, could you tell me how long an RFP process would take?
When I looked at the RFP process, it was usually about 24 weeks from start to finish for the city manager when you do it that way.
It's fine with me because haste makes waste. I don't know about anybody else.
And I apologize. I mean, when you guys said you guys wanted proposals this week, that's why we were like on a time crunch trying to get this to you guys. And that's why we did not go to procurement to go through a whole RFP process. So I apologize for not thinking that way through, but when it was a week timeline, I didn't know that there was no way that we could have gotten an RFP out with responses in a week.
Yeah, and I was under the assumption that basically what we got was what we were, because that's why I thought we were talking about what we would like to see in the proposals. Like I mentioned, the reception, that I think would be nice to have residents be able to meet our finalists. And I seen CB&A included that in their timeline. I don't know if Solutions did. I'll have to go back.
One of the other ones did. I was more of a
Okay.
community
So I appreciated that. I don't know if an RFP would give us anything different than the top ones that we've already received. I think it might be good if we, and I don't know if they do this, but if we have some additional proposals that we can try to get in over the next week to look at. But if it's possible, I don't know if they do this, but have CB&A and maybe Solutions do a Zoom at our next council meeting. And, you know, the mayor can bring up, you know, the network that he had mentioned, and they can kind of tell us what their true network is, and we can see if it fits within what we're looking for.
I will say this, if we're not going to go for an RFP process, most of the companies told me it takes about 2 weeks to get a proposal to us.
I am not in agreement with just going with the 2 or the 3. I think the RFP, based on my background, the RFP will give you will give you the absolute big picture. And I am not just for whittling it down to the 3 and then I'm really surprised, like they even came forward with this without a scope of work. That just blows my mind.
Because they give like a standardized, here's the proposal of what we do. You create what you want within the timelines. That is where the difference, I think, is, because they come to us and they'll interview you. They'll sit down and talk to you all what's important, and then they'll bring it back to you and go, based on what you said, here's what we're looking to propose. Does this look okay? Create a brochure. They go out and market it to the people that they know. They do online searches. And so it's evolved quite a bit, because I asked how many of them go out for RFP, and the response that I got was, if they are not in a rush, people will do an RFP. If they need something sooner than later, then they gather, like we have done, several different companies that have their standard protege of what this is what we do, boom, boom, boom. This is how we run, and then you tell us within that scope of what we're presenting, what you want and what you don't want, and we tweak it to what the council prefers. And
Well,
that was what everybody pretty much told me.
Based on the conversation previously, we're not in a rush, right?
No, we're not in a rush. But I do want to just clarify, this is a workshop. We're not voting on which one we're going to take tonight. This was a process.
Bring it up about
Yeah.
the vote. I'm
Yeah.
just saying.
I mean, we're trying to get the process down. This is one piece, and we can't really select anybody until we get the job description, the salary. There's a lot of things that we've got to figure out, or we're not giving them the ammunition of what tier they're going to be looking for.
Well, the other thing that pardon me, Mayor, the firm will do is they'll come out and say, I've looked at your job description. Here's what we think will attract really good. This is what we've had success with. We can tweak it, yours. And then they will also come in with, here's what we've placed in different cities. Here's what these cities around you with the full compensation. That is all the work that they do when they come in and talk. And so right now, we don't have to do all that legwork. That's why we're paying them to do it, which is great. And so it's depending on how we want to go out there and do it. If we want the RFP and spend the whole entire time, procurement will come in and take over this and work through it with us. And then if not, if we want, I would suggest that we give a couple more weeks to get proposals.
That's interesting. I appreciate that, and I just want to, I'm the odd duck up here. What's always worked best, and I'm not saying I'm right, but what's always worked best for me is letting them know exactly what questions I'm going to ask, and they can filter it in. Like, I see nobody asking about their succession planning. First thing I ask everybody that comes in is, tell me the top 3 people you've ever trained and where they're working now. That kind of thing that they don't put in. And so I think within the interview process, or if we give them this job description, it'll cut it down, because time is money, and if we're going back and forth all the time, we're not getting where we want to go. But that's more where I'm coming from. What are those questions each one of us are going to ask? Is it included in the profile? So when the person looks at it, they can say, that's me, or, well, I'm not there yet, so.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to come back around to something that you were discussing previously. Are we going to still think about bringing a fixer for a short period of time and then going for a long-term person? If we do that, then I agree with Barbara. We can put an RFP out for that long-term person, but we could definitely go this route with the fixer.
Yeah, and I think that's part of what we're talking about today. Selection process includes all this, job description, all that, because last time we kind of tabled that, right?
Right.
And so for this meeting, so I included that as a whole part of this whole situation.
I have a quick question on the, I'm just looking at one of the proposals for, I think I'm still on CBA. So March 18th, CBNA begins meeting with council members and other stakeholders to understand the job and its challenges. I presume they come here in person?
Yes.
And then we would get together at a council meeting, or do they interview us separately, or?
Honestly, it depends on what is going to be the fit for the council. They work accordingly.
Because I think that would be important for us to have the draft job description, things for that initial meeting. Then CB&A submits the draft of the full recruitment. So they're going to take our job description, they're going to enhance it, they're going to create the full brochure for the city like they did the last time, and then they bring that back to us on April 7th, and then we go through it. So I think it's important that we get some of this stuff cleaned up tonight, but then I think we're gonna do a lot of that with them too, because I'd love to like show them downtown and like take them out and
Right.
see, this is what we're looking for. When you talk with someone, you should kind of think about these things that you're seeing that we're gonna need in the next 5 or 10 years. And maybe they've done it before, maybe they're dealing with it now. Those are the type of people that we would want for, especially the redevelopment of downtown.
And what they'll do is we'll provide them all the documents beforehand that they can see what we've done, our job descriptions before they even meet with anybody, so that they have an idea of what we're looking for. And if it's, they'll ask, has it changed, since you guys have posted this job description?
So for 6 months to wait to decide who we might want to use feels too long. And we get caught up in cycles frequently on this council where our questions have questions, and we make no decisions, and we just keep tabling things. I do think we could use a few more firms. I do think maybe we don't decide which one to use until the first meeting in April or the second meeting in April, where we have more proposals to go from. So that gives Michelle time to get a lot more proposals in, especially if they're saying 2 weeks. Get some more in. I do agree we need more. But I don't know if the RFP process would be a good fit. It just feels like an extended period of time, and then I feel like when we get to the end of that, our questions will still have questions.
But if, Amy Jo, if let's say like the first week of March or the second week of March, this goes out to the firms, they got 2 weeks and it still could be presented at the April meeting. So it could still be, it doesn't have to be that prolonged, but
Yeah,
it.
I'm okay doing an RFP process if we put like a quick turnaround on it. If they want to put a time period on
An
it,
expedited RFP, is there something like an
I'm okay.
expedited RFP?
Yeah.
Because then everybody thinks they were included too. I hate for people to come down and say, boy, I wish we would have known, because I get that all the time.
oh yeah, I feel that.
If they're hangry enough, they will get it in, if they're hangry enough.
Yeah, well, put a deadline on it.
Yeah, put a
It's only
deadline
good
on
for
it,
this
like give
long.
them a month or something, and then come back with it, because I just don't want to wait 6 months to try to maybe decide which firm we're going to use.
Yeah.
That feels like we're just pushing it down the road, and I don't want to do that.
When was the last time the city of Groveland put out RFP out? Anita?
I would have to look at your webpage, but you put out RFQs and RFPs pretty frequently with the number of projects that you have ongoing.
Okay, so we do have access to that network.
Correct.
Because an
Yes,
RFP.
and you do it through OpenGov. They post it on OpenGov. It's on your website. They're told to go there and upload their response.
Right. I mean, we could put an RFP out in a week and say, respond in 30 days, and this is what we're looking for, an RFP for exactly what she went out and tried to get people on the phone to give us. So we can, put an RFP out for that service. Not a big problem with that.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, if I can just add to that, just so you understand the OpenGov and the RFP and RFQ process, usually the vendors that are you're soliciting are registered in OpenGov. So you have, I don't want to say a limit, but they're in the box and they're going to see what we're sending out. So it might not get to that broad group that you may be looking for by just doing an RFP, because they're going to be vendors or they're going to sign up for notifications that we are putting out on the street.
We've done two-prong approach, right? We can put it in RFP, and we can still solicit outside of that through other channels and let people know. There's a lot of people that I hear, they don't go on our website, and they get really upset with me because they don't know about it, and I have to tell them to go to our website and figure it out. But I just don't want us to get down to the end, and that's very selfish of me, to get down to the end and somebody say, we weren't included. We were excluded from this because you didn't put it here or there, and I think the two-prong or three-prong approach would be better. And it'll give us a bigger funnel to kind of.
I'm good with that as long as we limit the time. I think 6 months is crazy talk.
I don't know where you got the 6 months from.
Because she said 24 weeks, that's where that came from.
I thought she said for the whole process.
For the whole process.
Hey, I misunderstood. I was like, no, we're not waiting 6 months to decide who we're
Except
using.
for the whole
It's pretty
process.
dumb.
These firms,
Okay.
all three of these firms have, if you look at the packet, they say that from the time they are selected to the time, it's around 90 days to get somebody. So it would be like June. If we were to select a firm in the next two council meetings, it would be by the end of June is what their predictions are, because they're that confident they'll be able to find us somebody that fast. But to go to put the RFP out, to give them time to come back and all that, the whole process takes about 6 months from start to finish.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that, because I was like, what, why?
So if we did an RFP, I would assume it's going to be, we already have these folks that have sent in. So it would go out to our network that we currently have. I don't know if we have recruiters that are signed up, because I've applied for RFPs with the city for our grants previously, and you have to be in the system to kind of get notified. But I would just do like a 2-week turnaround time, especially since these people have gotten their proposals in a week. There may be 1, 2, 5 of these in that system, so at least they're notified. They can put together a proposal like they did. And, you know, a lot of it is, I know they didn't build this proposal just for us. They put our logo on it. They put a few different things in it, but really this is I've done this before where I have the standard proposal. Now I'm making sure I change all the highlighted names throughout it so it says Groveland everywhere. But I think 2 or 3 weeks would still get us to where we want, where we are doing an RFP. People are being notified. We can post it on all of our social media. We could email it out and then give it 2 weeks, come back. We have the additional proposals if anything comes through that, and then we could make a decision by end of March, early April, and feel like we've gotten as many proposals in as possible.
One thing you need to know is when you put an RFP out for a personal service contract, which this is, it would go to a completely different set of vendors. It wouldn't go to the normal contractors or anything like that. And normally when you put a personal service contract out, you would sit there and say, this is the RFP. Within 2 weeks, we're going to have a Zoom meeting, and everybody who wishes to ask any questions, please attend the Zoom meeting, and they can ask direct questions to us, and then the proposals get submitted 2 weeks after that. So that's usually how it works.
And they do that for construction-type contracts, proposals, like you go to a site visit to see what's there actually before you bid on it, so that if you got a major sinkhole there, although it was just to repair a hole in the ground, you go out there and you see that it's a sinkhole, you're not going to want to bid on it. So I like Councilman Jay Cox's idea.
Do we have that kind of network to where we could put that together and put the Zoom meeting and all that for like a upfront?
Yes, we do. We have interim procurement person that works for the city currently. We can engage them, and Mr. Walker has recently engaged them on the park project he's worked on. It's a very straightforward process. Provide them the scope of work, and they'll put out the information. They'll put together the information, we'll review it, they'll put it out to bid. You'll set the timeline for your project, budget, all those different things. Or you can have an open bid where,
Did that work well for you, Mr. Walker? You did it? You've done it that way? You've done it with the RFP?
Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, usually the procurement policy, requires, because of cost levels, that we must do it. So, we currently have Gaffney Park and Cherry Lake Park phases out on the street. They went out on Monday, I believe.
But have you done this Zoom meeting where you, is that what, that whole?
We do a pre-bid meeting and
Yeah.
any questions, and then there's a timeline for the applicants to ask questions. There's a deadline that they get
We're
their
set up
questions.
for that already. Yeah, that's cool. Good input.
You remember, we're not looking for a low bid here. We're looking for the best qualified bidder.
Right.
Right.
Steve, back.
Yeah, I just think the best qualified candidate for this specialized thing, they're also trying to recruit business. So they have on their Google searches, if an article gets posted that says interim city manager, they get notified because that tells them that business, that city needs my work. And that's why you typically get the same 3 to 5 coming up, because it is very specialized. And, you know, Sunshine and all the other things that they're bound, that we're bound by and that they're working with is something that maybe, you know, someone that's doing it for the first time that may apply for this wouldn't be prepared to do, but they may have general questions that a company like these wouldn't need that Zoom because they've done it hundreds of times and they know it better than we do, and that's kind of why we're hiring them, but that's all I have.
Well, spread the net. You know, we had Colin before or whatever, and it could be that when you do the matrix, that Colin may be on top. But what if company XYZ gets on top? You don't know until you spread the net outside of these 3. And if Colin's number 1, I say spread the net. Spread the net, spread the wealth, spread it all.
Don't spread the wealth.
Spread the wealth.
No, don't
Okay.
spread the wealth. Keep
So
the.
can we get a,
Don't be giving our money to other people, Barbara. That's city money. We got to keep that protected.
we need to give some clear direction here on what we want next, so we can cut the debate and just go one at a time. What do we need to do? What do we need to tell these guys to do next? Are we going to do a Zoom call? Are we going to do an RFP? Are we going to do stick with one of these recruiting firms that we get on the telephone? Where did we were all over the board here. We need to narrow it down to.
I'm fine with going, getting additional proposals in over the next 2 weeks, compare them to these, and then make a decision. I don't think I'm in the majority in that. I think the majority might be to do an RFP for 2 weeks or 30 days, and then to do a Zoom call, but what I'm hearing.
With the RFP, I'm okay with the RFP, you know, having a conference call with the prospective proposers, and then going out and just, you know, picking the best one. But still can do what Steve wants if we're going to get a fixer in this for a 6-month period of time. Because then we have 6 whole months to find the permanent person. We're not in any rush. So I don't have any problem doing what Steve wants to do if we're going to do that. You know, take what we got, give another 2 weeks. If we don't get any more, just run with one of the ones we got already.
Because you're thinking we're not going to get a fixer?
Because, no, if we're going to go get a fixer,
Yeah.
then we're going to say, this is a short-term gig for you. This is, we want you to be here for 6 to 10 months or 6 to 12 months and fix this, the city, and then we're going out for a permanent person.
Are you saying we're doing this?
This is for the permanent person.
Yeah, this is for the permanent person.
We're looking at the permanent person right now, and we'll
Okay.
come back, because there was not agreement on the fixer at the last
I thought we
meeting.
were just still discussing that. I didn't think we
Yeah,
had a
need to-
consensus either way.
We said we table it till this time, so we
Okay.
have to give solid direction on how we're going to go about getting a city
Okay, then I'm with the
manager,
RFP.
The overall city manager.
I'm with the RFP then.
Okay.
So.
I agree with Stephen, but I'm not opposed to the RFP if the majority is in favor of that, so.
You should run for Congress, because you just answered that 2 ways. So
I told you what I prefer, but I'm not opposed to the other. It's not a terrible idea. I mean, you know.
So you're voting for, my vote is for the,
Just getting a few more proposals and moving on,
okay,
onward. We have hard times making decisions around here.
Barbara?
My vote is the RFP and getting more proposals in, but additionally, I would like to see the scope of work included in that. And if it is, then you would need to resend it to the 3 companies so that it's all equal. when you get ready to solicit.
I think we'll probably cover the scope as the job description, everything else, and that's what we're going to be talking about. We have to give direction on that, too. So let's,
RFPs.
RFP.
You're going to be the tiebreaker.
I'm
You're getting good at that.
I'm expedited RFP, expedited RFP. And Michelle, you need to, we're dealing with 2 weeks or 6 weeks. Can you go find out what reality is on that, what an expedited RFP means? It might
Yes.
be a month, you know, it might be 3 weeks, it might be 2. But the realistic, we would need to be set up for success.
I will get with the procurement team tomorrow and figure out exactly how long will an expedited, what's the earliest that we could get it for you. And then would you like me to let you know on Tuesday night?
I'm for communicating it as we go along, so if we have questions, you know, so for you, we can't talk it amongst ourselves.
I will pass it to the city manager.
The interim, oh, yes,
Yes.
yeah, that's right, till Monday, right? So, yeah. Yeah, we'll filter it back through, send it to the city manager can copy all of us, and we, with no reply, you know, no conversation kind of thing, and then we'll have the stuff, or it might just be in the package, right? We get the package, we already got the package. So, yeah, you'll need to send it out to us, yeah.
And Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, I can just add, if you go for an RFP, and we may just need to email if I am incorrect in what I'm going to say, is because I know there's been interest on the Zoom meeting being a part of the RFP. There is a cone of silence, so when something is put out for an RFP, that Zoom meeting is normally just informational for the procurement person to provide information only. It's not to have a lot of back and forth dialogue on a Zoom meeting. It is informational, so they're accurate on what they supply in their bid.
So that Zoom could just be a video, right? I mean, if there's no dialogue. Is that correct?
Sometimes the meetings are mandatory in person because you want to see the interest of the folks, especially on a construction project. But with something like this, you might have some out-of-state firms. Zoom would probably be appropriate. However, like I said, it's not going to be really a council member back and forth questions. It's going to be informational from the procurement because there is a cone of silence where we cannot talk to them.
Cool, okay. Thank you very much for that. So RFP expedited.
Mr. Mayor, do you want to give us some homework? Each come up with 3 or 4 key items that we want in the in the RFP?
We'll move on to the job description
Yeah.
right now, and I think that we all got the job description. Thank you very much. The City of Groveland job description. It looks like this, and in front of you, and I'm sure we all made notes with that, and we can start with the notes from Amy Jo.
Come back to me, please.
I will come back to Amy Jo. I'll go over to Mr. Jaycox.
Essential job functions, nowhere does it say anything in here about that they have to be able to build our brand-new entertainment corridor over on Orange and Broad. We need to put something in there that this person has special skills in attracting, retail and commercial to our brand-new downtown area that we're going to be making. That's one of the major important things that we need to do in this. This is kind of a boilerplate that Tim made up, and it's good for the basics, but we have a couple ongoing projects like we have on the books. So we have to sit there and say that, we're thinking of putting in a museum over with the train station or something like that. Well, they have to have experience in doing that. They have to have experience in negotiating with developers to say, hey, this is what we want in our downtown. You get to have, something that you want, but we need to have this too. So we need to add that somehow in there. I don't know the correct words to put in there right now.
Well, that doesn't help if you can just give us a hint of how you want to say that.
Right, but I'll have the words developed before Monday. I will definitely have that, so.
Yeah, but remember, a lot of the negotiations will take, we've still got a procurement opening, you know, and those negotiations usually go to that, and then we bring it out to the manager. Okay, Mr. Steve?
Yeah, my main comments were around downtown revitalization, mainly because I went into some of the weeds on this, but no applicant is actually going to see this because we're still going to, once we end up picking a firm, we're going to pick this apart again and then see. I haven't heard it called the entertainment district, but I don't know if I don't know.
I don't think that's a good name
Yeah,
for it. It
I get where you're
conjures
going though,
not good
but that may
names.
get people wondering what that could be.
Exactly.
No polls, there's no polls. No polls.
So yeah, I would like the focus to be on a city manager who has experience in where we're going to be 5 or 10 years ago, and that really has to do with the population growth that we're projected to get to. So even adding in here, you know, if someone, I seen one of the bids, they had just done Jupiter Beach, and they have a population of 982. Well, that person really probably shouldn't spend the time applying for this. But those were my main comments.
Thank you very much. Amy Jo?
So one of the things, I would like somebody that has extensive knowledge and experience in managing a city with rapid growth. I think adding the revitalization of downtown on there is good. As far as skills, I want somebody follows like an extreme ownership or accountability, like just personally. I want somebody who's big on ownership and accountability. That's one of my biggest things, so.
Very good. Barbara?
I would like someone to be transparent and very responsible for the fiscal management, but I would like to also like for them to ensure regulatory compliance with any regulations or et cetera that may be, and transparent with it to the council, and be able to maintain or oversee the budget with long-term sustainability.
I put. Okay, and I have on the 5th bullet down, I agree with Barbara that we have to put "and state." Monitors compliance and reports the result policies established by the city council, but we have to have the regulatory issues with the state. We have to make sure that we have that in there, in my opinion. On 3rd from the bottom, I'd also like to see a strategic in the plans and in the skills. A strategic thinker is going to be very important, and also some knowledge or background in process management somewhere in their career. We do, I think Steve brought it up, we agreed last time we were going to look at somebody that's been around a 55,000 population. And so for the recruiters, we need to make sure that that's in here, that that's the kind of person, because that's where we're going. Again, I would put in under Personnel Committee and all that, I will ask the question, give me 4 to 5 people that you've trained that are successful in other cities. And succession management isn't in here, and that's very, very important. I think it's hinted at in training, but if we don't say it like we mean it, training can be videos, you know, so we need to make sure that we have that in there. Confers with elected officials on budget, policy, and legal or laws, because we're constricted with if somebody coming in from out of state, we need to make sure they understand what that means. Considerable experience in budget preparation, specifically in the public sector. public preparation and reporting of financial reporting needs to be in there, in my opinion. So does that get you some clear direction? Yes, Steve?
I have one more. I didn't see, like KPI tracking, unless I missed it. So maybe adding like, establishing performance metrics for evaluating departments for effectiveness. That's all I had.
In education, maybe we should, open it up. Right now, it's just, we want someone with a bachelor's degree in public administration. Maybe want a builder, project manager, somebody has a master's in public administration and a minor in, project management. Because this is a project that he's going to be managing. Our city is going to be a big project. So maybe we should open it up a little bit.
I think you say that in their background, but I don't think that's where we're going to hire from, that somewhere in their background, that process management, because management skills are pretty important, and sometimes you have to go up the ladder a little bit, especially when we're doing the organizational chart and things. We have to understand that, I think. Barbara, did you have anything else to add?
No.
Amy Jo? Okay. Is that clear direction?
Yes.
Okay. Got it all down? Next on the list, we have process. We want to go ahead and talk about the, I don't want to say temporary or interim. I was talking to some people, maybe we ought to say acting manager. Sometime when you say temporary, if you're in a negotiation or something, it kind of doesn't go as far as if you say they're an acting manager. That's just a terminology, but temporary kind of is maybe something that turns people off. An acting manager for 6 months or whatever, and that's up for discussion. That's just a thought. So last time we left it off as, do we need one or not? That's the first thing we have to determine. Second, for how long? What's the time, that we theoretically would have? It might be 8 months, but I think we were talking 6 months at the last meeting, but we didn't agree on that. And then how we're going to go about getting them. Those are the three things I have. Anything else that needs to be on the list?
And then for just clarity of the first one, this would mean our current interim would step back into their position as a department head?
Correct. We'll talk about.
Go around since we discussed last time, and yay or nay if we want to.
Yeah, we'll go around and we'll start, Amy Jo.
Okay, so I looked at some of the examples given and looked up some others. The most notable one was, I think, Miami Beach Shores. It seems like a good idea, like it could work, to find out exactly where we are before we bring somebody new in. I kind of wish it had come up at the meeting when we were discussing who to insert as the interim. Just because it almost feels disingenuous to me to go through that, to have that whole discussion, and then turn around and be like, JK, we're going to bring in somebody new entirely.
I've got to take exception to that. And I sent you the video, and we did say right off the bat, make sure we understand this is temporary, and we'll determine the further stuff on Thursday. And I asked.
You didn't elaborate on it. I felt like you should have, that's what I'm saying. You should have elaborated on it more at that time. But that's okay, like, hey, hindsight's 20/20, right?
And I went back and I read it. I went back and
I
heard
listened to it.
And I think that would have been the time to get the consensus then of like, this is what, because then later in the conversation, I heard that part, and then later in the conversation when we were like, let's do this person, and then the conversation was like, no, because they're opening up something in April or May, and so this won't work. So both arguments were made at the same meeting, and because that was what we ended on, I think that's what we felt. So that's why I'm not in favor of doing an acting, especially because we still haven't gotten agreement on the company to use for our permanent. So I would assume we would want to do a RFP and do a search to get a qualified person for the acting spot. And I just think that's going to take
I think
time.
that's where I'm at. As how quickly do you think we could do that realistically? How quickly could we bring in an acting city manager to go through everything and fix it or bring it up?
That's the
Like,
perfect point. I mean, and
That's
that's
where
why
I'm
we said everybody's got a project. It might take a month or 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
I think we sent out, or I know I sent out all the cities that have used this type of
Right.
person before. First thing I would do would go to those cities and say, who did you use and how can we approach
Oh, well, there's one
them?
name that comes up over and over and over again. Merritt, what is his last name? Anybody? Anybody? What is it? It's like, yeah. Merritt is his first name. That's the part that sticks. He's,
So we got a no-go on an interim. We got a,
I'm a go, but let's quickly determine how long that's going to take. If it's going to take 3 months, I would be a no. If we can do it within a month, I'm a yay on that. So realistically, what are we looking at? I just don't want to waste a lot of time looking for the interim instead of focusing on the long term. I think the long term is way more important.
That could be concurrent, right?
It can be concurrent as long as the interim comes quickly. We don't want to bring somebody in and then be like, oh, well, we found our perfect guy in 30 days and you're out now. So we wasted. It just feels like it would be a waste if that's the case.
yeah, they'd have to understand that up first, and most of these people have gone through that, and it might be we'll have to talk about the contract if there's a buyout
There's
on it.
a lot of
but-
questions.
But as first, we got to determine if we're even going to go down that path.
I'm willing to go down the path of exploring that option.
I'm willing to go down the path. I just want to understand the process, but I'm willing to go down that path.
Yes, I'm willing to go down that path because something was brought up in the meeting that some candidates won't want to come to this city because of the disarray it's in right now. So if we don't mind that, then we don't mind it. I personally do. I want to get the best possible person in here for the longest period of time. I don't like change. I like stability. So I'm with the temporary to fix everything, yeah.
And I'm for the fixer as well, so we'll move forward with that. And the next thing I guess I hear is to get the process to get them written down.
Yes, I just want to make sure that Amy Jo didn't go and pluck one out of her backyard.
Okay. Well, do you
Gonna
want
pluck a
to
city
talk about
manager out
that,
of
or
my
you just want us
backyard?
to get together? Because the process, the way I see it with the people that have done it, is we get with the Florida League of Cities, the Mayor's Council, and the people that have already used these people, and maybe reach out to that one person that's fixed all these towns and see if they're available right now. That would be the way I would go about it.
I would have if we, and this is kind of hard because we were putting off the selection process, but I would have the firm that we choose find that person first. And that's basically what they did last time, was they found an interim, and then we ended up keeping that interim. But if we're already going to be paying $32,000 for a firm, we might as well have them find an interim for us, and then if that's your guys' belief of or an acting, and then while we have that person with us, then we would have them searching for the permanent.
That's a cool way
If
to.
we get a consensus, would you be able to add that to the proposals you got?
RFP.
It'd be concurrent, though, because we're not going to get the RFPs back until when? 3 weeks, 4 weeks? And in that time, we can reach out to the people we were just talking about and see, before we have that finalized, if there's somebody out there. So that's our backup, is the firm.
Yeah, I would still run it through the firm, since we're paying them and they're the experts and they can vet. But,
Yeah,
well,
we
that's
don't-
what I would like, I would hope that we could pick the firm pretty quickly. But I would have anyone that you would recommend or a council member would find would be sent to that firm. We would still need to do background checks, all of that stuff like we would for a permanent. But where were you?
It's 32,000 per candidate, but it will go down. So there's additional cost to find an interim as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Process?
What is our direction right now? Are we looking for a consensus to do what?
To go out and find this person. I think the decision is whether it goes to the firm or a hybrid system where it goes to, we go out and find the ones that have been named. And while we're searching for a firm, because it is an interim position.
Well, I'm
and
with the
there are
hybrid
names
system.
out there. Yeah.
I'm okay with the hybrid system.
What did you say?
I said I'm good with the hybrid system.
What's the hybrid?
It's-
No, I mean,
While we're going out for the RFP, we're going to see
Yeah.
who's available.
And see
that's-
how
that's
much it would
proven
cost to add it to their proposals while we also look.
Again, I go back to it, I asked that it is inclusive. White, black, purple, pink. I asked that, if it's a veteran or a woman-owned or a service-disabled veteran. So I am big on that. So how do we make it all inclusive?
Barbara,
That's
just,
what I'm looking for. That's why I'm asking about the process.
just so you know, Barbara, I went on the Florida minority page
Mm-hmm.
and looked to see if there were consultants that did recruiting, and there weren't any.
Okay.
Just in
How about
Florida.
service-disabled vets or veterans?
Excuse me?
Veterans or service-disabled?
I,
vets?
I was just looking for minorities.
Okay, all
So-
right. Well, I just asked that consideration be given to other than, my phrase is homegrown.
I don't think we have a homegrown, for this, the interim position, or they'd be here right now. We're going to have to go find the talent and bring them in, so. And anybody that comes in, we'll consider for sure in that list, but,
Just
So-
saying, I want it for the
Okay.
record.
And then I vote for the hybrid system, so we're off that and on to next subject.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, if I may. And I probably don't fit this seat very well, probably why I will never sit in this seat being employed, but I just want to give my past experience, having a quote-unquote fixer in past employment city that I worked in didn't work well. A lot of us department heads have been here 7, 8 years. That term really hurts. So hopefully we can find a better term, because the city of Natural Charm was not Natural Charm 7, 8 years ago. It has become that. And we take pride in our city and our job. But bringing in somebody in my past life 7 years ago, that city is now on city manager number 4. So I would really encourage you, because you've got a great team of leaders here, to do it right the first time. It's not a fixer, maybe a helper, a leader. A leader's probably a better word, so those are just the words I wanted to share.
Yeah, I think what we started out with, is it going to be an acting manager, city manager, rather than and fixer is the wrong term. I agree
Leader
with
and
you.
collaborator.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking for.
Okay, next, I would like to bring up, we have a young man that's stepped up to be a interim city manager, and he's taken on a lot more responsibility, and there'll be a time when, for this time that he's taken on that extra responsibility, I believe it is only fair, because he's working a lot more than hours and taking on so much more responsibility, that we discuss if we can give him an increase for the time that he is in that position, because to quantify the responsibility that he has at this time. So I would open that for discussion at first, if you agree, and then we go back and say what it is.
What's his starting pay? What's Tim's starting pay? What is he paying now?
He is, I believe, in the 160s currently, 163.
Okay, so he's about $60,000 difference between him and what the other city manager was making.
Well,
And in business, and you can help me out, in business, usually whoever's in charge is making a little bit more than the people under him. And this isn't the case at this time, you know.
Okay.
correct. Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, we do have to take into consideration the current compensation structure within the organization. We just recently hired a COO, and, considering Mr. Hines' responsibility as a former city manager, taking that into consideration as well, and what the market pays, comparable, I would definitely recommend something very close to what Mr. Hine, base salary-wise, what Mr. Hine is making without any type of other pay housing or any type of allowance that Mr. Hine was making. I think that would be considered fair.
You mean the 222? Is that what you're asking?
Around 200, 210 range.
Okay, and just to clarify, that's temporary. So when he goes back to his old position, he'll go back to his old salary? Correct. Okay, then yes, I am in favor of that. If you're going to take on more work, you should get compensated for it.
The question becomes when he goes back to his old job, since he's taken on additional responsibilities, is that something, additional pay for that, is that something to be addressed down the road?
Well, I think we can talk about that as performance. That would be, by that time, we'll have a strong recommendation from the city manager or the interim city manager at that time, but we won't set the, when they go back, we won't set that salary. It belongs to the manager.
Okay, then I'm good. Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes,
Concurrence on the amount?
yes.
So that's about 1,000 a week, right? Concurrent?
Is the concurrence 210 or 200?
22, I think he said.
Currently, the city manager, Mr. Hines' salary, base salary is about 222.
Sorry, I missed it because before you had mentioned
Yeah,
200 to
you did,
210.
That would be my recommendation as far as a range is, yeah. Because you have to consider,
Pay the other guy.
Yeah, so I would be, should we just say 210 or, so I'm fine with 210.
I'll do-
Yeah, do we have consensus for 210?
Yes.
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 Are we going to get him a better vehicle? Right now, he's driving around a pickup truck with a dent in the back of it.
Don't
He doesn't
put
need a
down
better
pickup
vehicle.
trucks.
His car goes.
I'm not putting it down.
Don't
It's gonna
put down
Engine
pickup
works.
trucks, buddy.
I don't know why we're talking about vehicle. Push the gas pedal, it goes. It's fine.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have financial update. Is there any more on this process that we have not answered? Dio or Michelle? Any
I
questions?
will tell the interim city manager what the RFP timeline is to get it out, so you will have that notification on how soon we can get that out and what the timeline will be.
Go ahead, thank you. I'm sorry, I was asleep here, I'm sorry.
No worries. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. Sorry about that. I thought I was waiting on you. I was asked to provide a financial update on where we are based on the audit given last week. And I just wanted to give you guys a quick update as to what we've done in the last, since this is my 23rd day, officially 30 days, physical days in the month, but 23 days in the seat that I've been here. just so everybody is aware, all of the 2025 invoices have been paid, and fewer than 5 known 2026 invoices still remain outstanding that we haven't addressed right now. I do want to address the Woodard and Curran statement that was on social media that we had $4.5 million worth of invoices outstanding. That is true, but some of them were 2026 that they had just billed to us, and some of them were 2025 invoices as well. The reason that they were delayed is multiple reasons. Some of the invoices had issues that we had to send back to them, get it back from us. We were waiting on correct purchase orders. We were, some of the work wasn't completely finished yet, and they weren't ready. Department managers were not willing to be paid until the work was completely done. And so in the last week, we have paid close to $4 million of Woodard and Curran, and we have very little outstanding with them left to be paid. And the ones that are left to be paid is because we are waiting on some, there was a couple of errors that they wanted to get corrected on those invoices, and that's why they are not sitting in our okay to pay mailbox right now. The 2025 audit has begun with a target completion date of June 1st, which would be the earliest filing that the city has had in more than 5 years. And Mr. Mayor, I know that you had told us that you had a confirmation from the Audit General's office, and in your packet on the back sheet, I have talked to multiple people at the Audit General's office just because I am trying to understand and where our communication broke down was from our end. And I have the email, the Auditor General's offices, they work from home, they told me, so they don't have letterhead. So this was as close as they could come up with. And they have all of our dates in here of when we have submitted over the past 5 years. The reason that the box right now on your hard copy, in your hand that says a hard copy has not been received is we had to wait until we went through last week until the council voted on the audit to go ahead and send it off. So they should have it. It's government, and it sometimes sits there before it gets recorded.
I would like to get with you and show you, I was just showing it to Steve, and somewhere there's a glitch. We'll have to figure out where that is.
We have to, because I'm like, please tell me where, and I've been trying, and they're like, this is what we have. We're not quite sure. So I wanted to let you know that we've been trying to figure that out, but we have not, from all of everything that we have done in June, the end of June for the last 5 years.
Perfect, fine.
So we have gotten that figured out as well. They are working on it. We've uploaded stuff. The auditors did tell us that this is one of the fastest years that they've gotten this much information for us. So really proud of the team doing that. Proud to say that we've held our first budget finance meeting with all the department directors, managers, and the administrators to make sure that we review the AP process and how we expect to have a 30-day turnaround on our invoices that we receive as a city, as well as trying to eliminate some of the paper, which we'll talk about here in a minute. As well as making sure we have a structurally balanced budget and not just a balanced budget this year, and what that means and what's the difference, and explain to all the departments how we can do that as a whole so we can be financially responsible. We've had several of the departments already finish their budget inputs, which is huge when we rolled it out on actually Tuesday morning, and we have some departments that have already finished it and ready to go, and making sure that they understand what's a balance, structurally balanced, and how do we make sure that this works. So I was really proud to see that we're starting to make some big improvement. The other thing is we had no cross-training in the finance team, and we've started doing some cross-training, some succession planning, and some career pathing already in some of our associates. So that's just a quick update, but now is the part that you guys are all interested in as well. Our account payable problems. I could turn the screen. What happened? Why did we have the backlogs? To give you an idea, we had a system that we inputted across the city called Tyler. It is what most municipalities use as a Tyler core system, or Munix, depending on what size of a government agency you are. And what they have in place is invoices have to be strictly paid in sequence. So there was no incorrect invoice if you had an invoice that was wrong in October, November, December, January couldn't get paid until that invoice was corrected. And sometimes when you send it back to a vendor, it doesn't always, you're not the top of their list sometimes. We also were missing documentation, W-9s, insurance certificates, correct change orders. We're often missing or incomplete, preventing the processing. Vendor invoices contained errors or missing information or simply not submitted in a timely manner, causing delays with corrections when corrections were requested. The AP workflow required multiple manual approvals. Up to 4 people which meant that 4 people physically touched that piece of paper and which slowed down our process time. Check runs only occurred every other week, only weeks when it was not a payroll time, limiting opportunities to issue payments. Only 1 staff member was fully trained to manage the AP function, creating a bottleneck when that person was out of the office. What I have found in my last 23 days is that the city's processes were designed for a much smaller organization and had not been updated as Groveland grew, resulting in daily manual, time-consuming tasks. Importantly, the delay was never due to the lack of funds, but entirely due to the process and workflow limitations. So, which brings me to my next slide. What's our solutions? What are we going to do? And to prevent backlogs and ensure vendors are paid within the 30-day timeline, we are implementing the following changes immediately. The Tyler AP system has now allowed same-day digital approvals, automated routing to the AP, and vendor payment preferences, which would give the vendor, do you want to check an ACH or MasterCard? Currently, for the first time you're set up as a vendor, you have to go through the check process. Then the system only gives you one option, which is MasterCard, but it charges you a fee. So a lot of our small vendors don't want that because they're paying the merchant. So this will allow them to choose an ACH check or if they do want the MasterCard. But because we're going automated, this will reduce, we're hoping, the payment times to 14 days once a invoice is correctly submitted. We're also removing the pay in sequence requirement to eliminate delays caused by a single incorrect invoice. Our staff was under the impression that this is how it was because this is how we've always done it. And we've challenged them to think differently and to think outside the box and to get this corrected, and I'm happy to say this was corrected today. We are strengthening our documentation accuracy by partnering with department admins and escalating unresolved issues to senior management after 5 business days. Our past process was we would send over the invoice in an email and say, hey, can you please make sure this is correct, fix it. Sometimes we wouldn't get a response. They would send back working with the vendor and nothing. And it would sit there for months on end sometimes. And now our finance team will only allow 5 days and they will bring it to senior management. We'll then go straight to myself will go to the directors and go, you have a hiccup in your department, please get this fixed so we can pay within our 30 days. I have a calendar and I have a list of all of the outstanding APs right now that are in that queue that needed to be discussed with department directors. We are running check requests now twice per week, eliminating the 2-week cycle, which will help get out payments to vendors much faster. And like I said earlier, we're cross-training finance staff to ensure at least 2 members right now can perform every AP-related function, eliminating a single point of failure. So that's what we've done to make sure that we're correcting these.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It really is. Any questions?
Thank you for answering our questions in a very prompt manner. Are you doing any type of vendor training? In other words, when you get a new vendor on saying, this is the way the invoice works, walk them through the first invoice?
Yes. So
Okay.
what happens with the Tyler AP system, they give us an implementation manager that will work with our team to make sure that we have all the processes in place. They'll make sure they'll go through the training manual, and they'll spend some time with us walking through that whole entire process. It's not just a one and done. It will be a couple times so you can pick up the habit, make sure we're doing it and using the system correctly.
Okay, and then, do you have a sign-off from the originating department where the invoice came from? Do they have to sign off the invoice before anything gets paid?
In the new system, in the new way, or in the current way? Or both?
Well, the new way, I want to.
The new way.
What's the new way?
So what will happen is the department admin will get the invoice, they'll upload it to the system. They'll put in the fund where it belongs with their cost center and so forth. Then if it, at that point, there's not enough funds, and they'll have to get a change order to make sure that they move it from one GL, because sometimes things are coded incorrectly, or we have too much over here, not enough over here. They'll do that change order. From there, it will, once that is done and the system allows it, it will move to the department manager for approval. Depending upon if it's in their authority or not, it will go to the next approving person after that for approval. Once it has all the approvals of everyone with the time, date, and stamp of when you have approved it, check the box, it will go to AP. AP then will just make sure it's got all the approvals, GL's good, there's funds in there, then it will send it directly through the system to get paid, and we'll get it, which we're working on now, have the email sent to the vendor saying, here, hi, you have a payment ready to be paid from the city of Groveland. How would you like, please fill out this form to fill out how you would like your payment.
Sounds good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Steve?
No, just thank you. I think this is what we were looking for, and I'm really excited that this has all been implemented so quickly. The pay in sequence, I think, was something I seen in like the first day when I was elected. I went out with Mr. Walker and the City with Natural Charm. He was trying to make sure one of our small businesses got their check the night that they did the movie night, because it's a mom and pop, and if they don't get that money, they may not be able to come back in 2 weeks. And it was such a hindrance and a process that I think it made us look like we really weren't looking for mom and pop businesses to do business with us. So I think that's awesome. Running checks I'm kind of shocked that we were doing every other week, so that's awesome that we're now doing it twice per week. Does the mayor sign? Who signs the checks currently?
They're done electronically. It is, at the time, we're in the process of switching it because it is the city manager that does sign those checks.
And then the cross-training is great, so thank you so much.
Jimmy Joe?
I got a couple things. So first, thank you very much for working so hard and getting these things pinpointed what the problems were and coming up with great solutions. So it just kind of shows everybody that the growth that our city has experienced so rapidly affects all departments, and even the ones that are unseen. But just to kill some rumors that I've seen on social media, was any of the money missing?
No.
No, it was all in the accounts, just ready to be paid, correct?
Yes.
I just wanted to
And
make
I
sure
will
that's
tell
out
you,
there.
I have black and white people, and what I mean by that, they're accountants. They look to make sure that everything matches, their T's are crossed and their I's are dotted. If you were missing one piece of information, they were sending it back, even for $1 off of something. Or if the date, I'll give you one. We had a vendor give us an invoice, and it had the date of the wrong year. They gave us an invoice in January, right after the first of the year, and they gave us an invoice of 2025 instead of 2026. We can't pay that, so we have to send it back. And I couldn't get the vendor to understand, it's the year that's wrong. They're like, no, it's not. We're like, no, January 26. And you're like, yes, that's what we gave you. And we're like, no. And it took us literally 4 emails and a phone call for them to go, oh, I got it. And that's what happens sometimes. And it just backs up from there, because that invoice backed up the other 2 invoices that we had from there.
Thank you very, very much for pinpointing the problems and solving them. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Michelle, can you tell us it looks like that there are, I think, 5 invoices that haven't been paid, what the dollar amount is, what the dollar amount is, and why?
There is one, I wish TJ was still in the room. There was one for a services that was provided. They gave us 2 invoices with the exact, I can't remember the name, I'm sorry, Vice Mayor.
Okay.
The same exact invoice. And we're like, it has the same dates, it has the same information on it. And we're like, is it one invoice? Is it two? And we're trying to get the answer. That department has been reaching out to that vendor for a couple weeks now. And so I'm like, okay, what can I do? Maybe if we call from a different phone number, they'll pick up, or a different email. So we're trying to tackle that. We have a Woodard and Curran. We have 1 or 2 invoices from them right now. There is not that much. And that one was, it was a couple $100,000 that they just sent us in the last couple weeks. And so I know that they are working on that one. They have to, trying to think of exactly what it was. I just saw it today. Something wasn't right, and they were going back to Terry to get it corrected so that we could pay it. It had one of the numbers that they referenced on it was a number that we already paid. So they went back to ask them to correct that. And then we have the company that gives us, and Walker, you might be able to help me. I think it's the ones that give the rugs or does in Public Works.
Alco,
Yes.
Alsco.
Yes, their invoice, we seem to have a problem with their billing cycle in the way. They'll send us invoices out of sequence. And so we have to get them in sequence, and so we're working with that vendor. So they're small, minute things that we will correct here shortly, and those invoices, I think, are like $52.
Okay, under the accounts payable solutions, kudos for identifying and trying to rectify. My question is, will there be quality assurance throughout the cycle? And if so, what does that look like?
So yes, our buyer, also Renee, on the procurement team, will go in and check, especially as we go through this first process, and make sure everything matches, it looks right, just as a quality assurance, a check and balances to make sure, and to make sure that the guardrails that we've put up in the system are correct, and make sure that something can't get through. We were talking about it today to figure out, because right now, Renee is in that manual process of getting accounts paid, and I have to be completely honest, I'm not understanding how we do ours, because right now it takes 4 to 6 people to approve an invoice.
How you do what, Michelle?
It takes 4 to 6 people to approve an invoice right now. And so I'm trying to still wrap my hands around it, and I honestly can't. But I know that the procurement team is going to be doing that check and balances. When we sat down and whiteboard how this new process works, they're going to be our quality control and make sure that we have the correct authorities for approvers in there and make sure that the dollar amounts are correct.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. This report almost brings a tear to my eye. I mean, really, it's something, but it also makes the hair stand up on the back of my neck, because it seems like 14 months ago, we were talking the same thing about Tyler with the water bill. Is that not true, when we couldn't get the stuff in and we couldn't get it out? No? So do we have the right system?
Tyler is the system that I've asked the same questions, that is mostly used by all municipalities. There's just a handful out there. Tyler is recognized as being one of the top systems and cores to use. We use them for a majority of our systems inside the city. The problem is we have not taken the time to learn the system. So we were thrown into the system in 2022 and learned just the basics and didn't ask any questions. Our team now, every other Thursday, has a 2-hour block with the Tyler team to ask questions and to go over. I was not on the Tyler training today, but they were like, Michelle, we learned so much that could have helped with boom, 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 boom. So that's why it's super important to have the implementation manager and team with us to walk us through these processes as we were changing to the Tyler AP. We've been paying for the Tyler AP, but we didn't have the newest version. They thought we did. So when I kept saying we're not on the Tyler system for the AP, and they're like, yes, you are. You have it. And I'm like, no, we don't. And it was because we didn't have the latest version that streamlines everything. And so that's why they were like, okay, so they're expediting that to get us on this ASAP. So we're in the process of doing that as we speak. So I'm hoping that we've already started working through some of the changes that we're going to be doing with it, but we're hoping to have it all completely implemented in the next few weeks. I would say in the next 3 weeks.
Very cool. And help me just understand the payables problems. People didn't have W-9s and insurance. Is there not a requirement that they have to have it in before they have it in, before they get hired by us, or no? We don't qualify our vendors before, and we're using them, and then with no insurance and W-9s?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, what occurs in the process, because I've been involved on the department side, is W-9s expire. So it's, it's just like who is red flagging that and chasing them down to update. So that's part of, we need another W-9. Certificate of insurance hadn't been a requirement till the past finance director, and finance staff was adamant that it needed to be required, so that put a pause for us departments to go scrambling, chasing down the vendors. Hey, we need your certificate of insurance. So, and that becomes a challenge for some of those mom and pops that didn't update theirs. So yay for us for doing better, but it was a challenge at times.
But we do it now, right? I mean, we don't.
Once we have it, if it hasn't expired, like COIs usually have a 1-year timeline. So some of our vendors will have given it to us, especially the ones that do work on site in the city. We want to make sure that we're insured and covered by that. And so we will have to get it updated, and we have to work with the customer to then work with their insurance company to provide that. Because if we pay the funds and they go, even if a percentage down and something happens, we want to make sure that we're covered.
Very good. Yeah, the audit, just one, I'm not criticizing anybody here. I just want to know. We had the auditors here, and I think there was a statement that we use commonly practiced, we came clean on commonly practiced accounting procedures. But were we reconciling with the bank financials and all that? Because I can't understand how we can have somebody say that we had commonly practiced and acceptable procedures, and we have all this money over here that hasn't been paid out, but the financials that we would get would show that by department what has been spent. And how does that work?
So when the audit is done, they look at our year as a whole. And when they get everything, it's already here, we finished the year. So everything that they can see is in compliance. They don't see the trivial day-to-day procedures that back us up and backlog. And some of those, it is our decision if we wanted to pay Tyler in sequence and not go out. That's a practice some businesses have. Like, we're going to make sure it's all right. We're not going to give you a dime until you fix this. But that doesn't work for us with some of our invoices, especially, I'll use Woodard and Kern as a great example. They have one invoice. We get invoiced from them. Sometimes we get 2 to 3 invoices a day from them, depending on what the project is, what's the need are. And so if one of those gets held up and we're waiting on them to fix, it backs up so many more. And it's not a reflection of the team doing it. It's a reflection of we've got to get this right, and trying to really work with our department staff to make sure that they understand we can't just sign our name and, okay, we're good to go, but we haven't looked to see that that invoice isn't right. So when the auditors go to pull to check to see in our check and balances, if this is wrong and we paid it on an invoice that was not correct, and we shouldn't have paid it, and that shows up in as our audit finding.
Yeah, I miscommunicated that. I'm not at the 10,000, I'm at the 50,000 foot level. And when you're looking at a financial sheet from TJ, his month end or his declining balance or whatever, and he has spent this much money, is that ever reconciled against what's in the bank? We just said
Yes,
that.
those are reconciled monthly.
So how did we end up with $4 million more in the bank? Because they don't wait till the check's paid in order to put it in, right? To put it in their financials? Do they wait till the check's paid to the company before they put it in their financials as a declining balance? Right. So what I'm saying is, then we had at least $4 million more in the bank than we should have. And if we were reconciling it, there should have been somewhere along the line.
Well, you always
a
have
red
that
flag.
carry forward of checks that haven't cleared, things that haven't been paid yet, that are in, and you always will have a carry forward of things because we end our fiscal year on 9/30, whereas most businesses are 12/31. So there's always a little bit of carry forward. Your checkbook never balances to exactly what you wrote out because there's checks that haven't cleared, checks that got lost in the mail. So to answer your question, there could be some overage, but it's a timing issue sometimes because I don't know about you, but if you write a check out, it takes sometimes a week, it gets lost in the mail, we have to do stop payments, and that is where our team does all of that and reconciles and says, this is what we have right now, everything we have is in, but here's the checks that are still outstanding that are not stale dated, we've contacted them, we still have the money to pay.
I mean, I don't want to get into it, but maybe we can talk about it sometime in the close of the month and how that works and here and all that to see if we can, if there's a reconciliation. But I appreciate so much. And just one last question, and I'm not going to hold your feet to the fire, but when will we get our financial reports?
So I'm so glad you brought that up. I was going to bring that up. In today's Tyler lesson, they asked about your budget reports because the reports that were just emailed out to you all this week by the interim city manager, our team manually had to create because they didn't know about this other system over in Tyler that we had access to. So in today's, they learned how that they can give you a month by month, exactly what you've been asking. So they were super excited. So they were working on that this afternoon. So we will be able to give that to you. Again, it's stuff that they never were trained on because they were just, here you go. And to be honest, our finance team, everybody except for 2 people are less than 3 years. So they just learned a piece from somebody and then.
Outstanding. I tell you, best report I've heard since I've been mayor. Right there. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry.
Michelle, a few weeks ago, someone came in to do an audit, right?
The assessment, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
March 16th on the 2nd, I will have that as on your agenda item, so you can see it.
Okay, we'll get it before the meeting, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You. Any further business?
Yes.
After you. I'll go after you.
Mayor, Vice Mayor Gaines, and rest of the council, if I may, I have some talking points and a statement regarding the financials that you asked me to put together. I can
Oh,
share
yes,
that
I'm
with you.
sorry, yes.
Oh, yes.
I thought I had to go through somebody first or something.
And I'm happy to send it to election. Based on Michelle's presentation. So what you have in front of you are a couple of different things. The first one is a statement that we've put together in case we get media requests for this. And then the second part of this are talking points. And these are designed for if you are in your huddle meetings, if you are out having coffee and someone brings this up to you, if you see something or your friends or family ask about it, those are the talking points. I think that couple things to remember, that these are developed for people outside the finance team. So I tried really hard to keep it at a level that, quite frankly, that I could understand. And also, it explains the issues in a transparent way, but it also focuses on the solutions. And so I would encourage all of us to do that when we are talking about this out in the community, since Michelle and the team have had so much progress and have made, really been able to identify the issues and are putting into place or have put into place the solutions for those. I would encourage all of us to focus on those solutions as well. And as your counsel, my approach is always to talk about and provide information to people who care. And so I probably wouldn't recommend that we proactively post this on social. I don't think there's enough people out in the community that are actively talking about it. I think we can talk about it in your council meetings. And I also think that we're obviously talking about this in a public way at the workshop. Of course, if that changes, if something were to run in the newspaper and more people would be excited about that, we're happy to provide some additional information and maybe our strategy would change.
I have my thoughts on that, so I'll go last. Go ahead, Steve.
My thing would be, like, we just got a ton of good information from Michelle, and I think we've gotten a lot of good information. And something I've seen the county do a lot, where they'll have their department heads put out like an editorial or put out, an update on like, this is what we've done, this is the new system. I don't think it would be a bad idea to do like an editorial from Michelle or something that, this is what, Groveland 2026 is now doing in our finances. And you may have heard some things, but this is what we're proactively doing too. I wouldn't do it as like these bullets, but maybe like in my first 30 days or something, editorial on what we're doing.
And just focus on the changes that we're implementing and why.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a good idea.
And believe me, I'm one of four, so I've never had a good experience when you didn't come clean. And in business, if you don't, you go to jail, right? And I don't want personally for somebody to go through and get the information and beat us out there on social media on compliance with state law, on all this other stuff, and to say that you don't think anybody knows about it. I think we've talked about it. They do. And the questions that we have to make sure we can answer is what happened, when did it happen, how long was it there, it happened, and then what's the solution? We've got the solution. But if I would answer a question from a good reporter, and there are a lot of them like this, they would still go back to, okay, but how did it happen, what did it happen? And your state's got a 45-day limit, and this is that, how that's going to affect you and all that. And I'd really like to make sure that we control the narrative on that and somebody else doesn't.
If I may, we would answer all of those questions, and if you'll see in the bullet points, and I know I just gave them to you, so I apologize. All of those questions that you just asked about that, who, what, when, where, how, are all answered in the talking points. And so if anybody were to have any of those questions, we would be very forthcoming about that. So, and I do think that, Councilman Shakovsky's idea about putting out an editorial would be proactive and would share with folks kind of what we're doing.
I'd be honest with it. I would show the bad, but tie it into what we're doing now. Exactly. And I would touch on every mention that he did, but, we're disclosing something that they may not know, but we're telling them the problem and we're already giving them the solution and what's being done. So I don't know if we need consensus on that or not, or if everyone's okay with us doing like an editorial.
I think it's a great idea.
Please balance it. Please make sure we got all the information out. So it doesn't
Absolutely.
come back at us.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Further? Yes, ma'am.
On Tuesday, I had the privilege of going to Building Blocks, which is a nonprofit organization that has clientele with developmental disabilities, and had lunch with them as well as attended the health fair. And I told them that I would bring the information back here. Next month is Developmental Disability Month. And I want you all to meet Flat Stanley. Flat Stanley was Flat Stanley Lamb Chop.
Want me to help?
Flat Stanley Lamb Chop went to sleep one night. And when he woke up, he was flat because a chalkboard had hit him while he was sleeping. So next month is Developmental Disability Month. And I have 5 of the clientele from the center. And all you do is you take your Flat Stanley, and wherever you go, you take a picture with your Flat Stanley. And then they are submitted back to building blocks. And what they will do is they'll talk about the cultural events, the trips and everything that Flat Stanley went on. It enhances the awareness of developmental disabilities. So I told them that I would bring them back to the council, and I want you all to get real familiar with your Flat Stanley. And wherever you go, you take a picture with Flat Stanley. Instructions are on the
I've done
back.
so many Flat Stanley projects, like.
Well, okay, well then.
I
you're
have not. I have not. So if you can give me the one that wants to go to DC next week with me.
No, they're
You
good.
pick-
It's good.
You pick them,
pick
okay?
'em.
And then also, they are going to have a car show, March 24th. So I told them that I would bring this back here. With the lunch buddies and things, they have corporate people that attend having lunch with the clientele there. And they're doing good things, making sure that they're infused, if that's the right word, into the community, independent living and educational. And the clientele goes up to 76 years old. So have at it, council. When the mayor dismisses, have at it and get your Flat Stanley. That's it.
I just had one question, because I couldn't ask him outside of a meeting. Mr. J. Cox sent us an email about an agenda. Was that for tonight's agenda, or is that just Monday's agenda?
That was in general.
Okay, gotcha.
It was a legal brief about that we have the ability to adjust the agenda that comes from the city manager, comes from everybody. We can sit there and say, no, we don't want to do this. We don't want to, we can have a motion to, table it indefinitely. We can have a motion to remove it. We can have a motion to move all these things. These are things I didn't think we knew.
Okay, so this was for like further clarification?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And Anita, if I said anything wrong, you can correct me if there's something in the charter that says, no, we can't do that,
I'll look at it. I didn't have an opportunity this afternoon. I saw it come through, but I haven't looked at it. But I will be able to brief you at the next meeting.
Thank you very much. I was going to ask that
And you
after
know,
you, but you already did it.
And Steve, I gave you all, personally, watched that little Robert's Rules that you got last time, and right in the front of that.
It
goes
was in
through a
there?
lot of
I
that,
looked,
yeah.
I saw that.
So. Nope. City manager? Anita? Okay, meeting adjourned.